Hi Reddit. I'm 29, and this is something I've never talked about publicly, mostly because it sounds insane, and partly because I don't know what to believe anymore. But I can't shake this. It's been eating at me for months now. So, a little background first. I had a sister. Her name was Emily. We were only 18 months apart and inseparable growing up, best friends, sworn enemies, all the things siblings are when they're too close in age. But when she was 17, she vanished. Literally. One night she went to a friend's house for a sleepover and never came home. Cops found her phone in a ditch 20 miles away. Her backpack was later discovered at a gas station across state lines. No one saw anything. The friend she was supposed to be with said Emily never showed up. After weeks of searching, press coverage, and vigils, the trail went cold. My family fell apart. My dad started drinking again. My mom lost herself in church. I tried to hold it together but I don't think any of us ever really moved on. There were rumors, of course, maybe she ran away, maybe she was trafficked, maybe she died and no one found the body. But we never got closure. Until 10 years later. That's when Emily came back. One day last spring, I got a call from my mom. I still remember the exact words, "She's home. Emily's home." I thought it was a sick joke. But it wasn't. I drove over to my parents' house and there she was, sitting on the couch like nothing happened. She looked older. Pale. Her hair was cropped short and her voice had this quiet, almost rehearsed tone to it. But it was Emily. DNA confirmed it a week later. The police questioned her, of course, but all she said was that she'd been taken and couldn't talk about it yet. No other details. Nothing. And then, just like that, everyone let it go. My parents acted like she'd just come home from college. My aunt started dropping off casseroles and hugging her like it was Christmas morning. Even our old neighbors stopped by to say how happy they were to have her back. Everyone fell into this strange rhythm of pretending everything was fine. But I couldn't. Because the Emily who came back, she might look like my sister. But something about her feels wrong. It didn't take long before I started noticing the little things. Like how Emily didn't remember our dog's name. We had this golden retriever growing up, Milo. He was her shadow. She used to sing to him, sneak him peanut butter under the dinner table, even cried for 3 days straight when he died. But when I brought him up one night, she tilted her head and asked, which one was Milo again? That moment cracked something open for me. At first, I tried to reason with it. Trauma, maybe. Maybe she had memory gaps, PTSD, selective amnesia, whatever you want to call it. But it wasn't just Milo. She forgot my old nickname too, the one she used to tease me with constantly. She didn't remember the night we snuck out to see a midnight movie and almost got caught sneaking back in. She asked if we still had the blue couch in the basement. We never had a blue couch. Not once. The others kept saying to give her time. That she'd been through something horrible. That maybe she was just trying to suppress it all. But my gut said different. It wasn't just the forgetting, it was the vibe. Emily had always been fiery. Loud laugh, sharp comebacks, always the first to stir up trouble. But this version? She was flat, polite, careful with her words like someone walking through a room full of glass. I tried talking to her alone, hoping maybe she'd open up to me. We were sitting on the porch one afternoon when I brought up her old art journal. The one she used to scribble in for hours. She blinked and said she didn't remember it, but I knew she was lying. I could tell. Her fingers tensed like she wanted to grip the railing, and her smile twitched just a little too wide. That's when I decided I had to dig. Not to prove anything, at least not at first, just for my own sanity. So I started with her disappearance file. My dad still had all the old police paperwork in a box in the garage. Newspaper clippings, photos, even the original missing person flyer. I stayed up late reading every page, looking for something, anything, that might explain what the hell was happening now. And that's when I saw something I hadn't noticed before. In the initial report, a neighbor mentioned seeing Emily the morning after she supposedly vanished. Said she was standing outside the gas station down the road, alone, looking confused. That detail was dismissed at the time. They said it couldn't have been her, timeline didn't match. But now? With everything going on, that one throwaway sentence started gnawing at me. If she really was taken, why would someone see her wandering around hours later, alone? Unless she was never taken at all. I didn't sleep that night. That witness statement kept echoing in my head, Emily, seen alone the morning after she disappeared. Back then, I was just a grieving teenager. I never thought to question it. But now? It felt like the one crack in the story nobody wanted to touch. The next morning, I went back to my parents' house. I told them I wanted to go through some of Emily's old stuff, see if there was anything I could salvage or donate. My mom hesitated but eventually said yes. She was just happy I was trying. I headed to the attic, where most of our childhood boxes were stored. I pulled out a few bins labeled E in my mom's perfect handwriting. Inside, it was like opening a time capsule of scrapbooks, report cards, stuffed animals. And buried at the bottom of one of the boxes, under a pile of old school projects, I found something I hadn't seen in a decade. Emily's journal. Not the art journal, the real one. The one she kept locked up in her dresser and swore no one else ever read. The lock was busted, probably cracked open by my mom when she went missing. I opened it gently. It was her handwriting, all right, loopy, impatient, rushed. And the last few pages were dated just days before she disappeared. They were weird. Not dark, exactly, but off. She kept writing about a visitor. Not a person, not clearly. She called it the shadow in the orchard. She mentioned hearing tapping on her window at night, even though our room was on the second floor. And one line in particular chilled me to the bone. If I say yes, everything changes. But if I say no, I'll be stuck here forever. I stared at that page for 10 straight minutes. That night, I asked Emily about it. I didn't tell her I found the journal. I just casually brought up the orchard behind our old house, asked if she remembered the tree swing. She looked confused for a moment, then nodded. Yeah. That place always creeped me out. But here's the thing, she was the one who loved it. We used to spend entire summers back there, playing in the orchard until sundown. It was her swing. She begged our dad to build it. So either she really didn't remember, or this person pretending to be Emily just didn't know. That was the first time I felt it, not just doubt or unease, but real, stomach-sinking fear. A few days later, I decided to go back to the orchard. It's been years since anyone kept it up. The swing was gone. The trees were overgrown, branches tangled like arms reaching out in every direction. But standing there, I couldn't stop thinking about that journal entry. The shadow in the orchard. I figured if I could retrace her last few days before she vanished, maybe something would click. I brought a flashlight even though it was daytime. Maybe part of me wanted it to feel dramatic. Like I'd find a hidden note carved into a tree or a secret buried under the roots. What I actually found was way worse. Behind one of the old apple trees, almost fully swallowed by thorny vines, I spotted something unnatural. A plastic tarp. Old, cracked, faded from weather. It was half buried in dirt, like it had been there a long time. My hands were shaking as I pulled it back. Underneath was a wooden box. It wasn't locked, but the hinges were rusted shut. I had to pry it open with a stick, practically tearing my fingers to do it. Inside were papers. Letters, mostly. All in Emily's handwriting, but different from the journal. More frantic. Unfinished thoughts. Half sentences. Some pages were water damaged, but one thing kept repeating in the ones I could read. It's not what they think. I left because of me. He told me I had to choose. It felt like I was reading someone's final thoughts before they disappeared on purpose. And just as I was about to close the box, something caught my eye wedged in the corner. A photo. Of me and Emily, maybe a year before she vanished. Only it was cut down the middle. Her side was missing. Just me, left grinning like an idiot, with a jagged line where she used to be. I don't know why, but holding that torn picture made my throat close. It wasn't just a photo, it was a message. She didn't run because she was taken. She ran because she wanted to disappear. I drove home without even realizing I'd left the orchard. Just sat in my car for nearly an hour, the box in the passenger seat, hands still covered in dirt. When I finally went inside, my mom was waiting in the kitchen. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at me. Then she asked, softly, "Were you out there?" She knew exactly where I'd been. And I knew in that moment, she knew more than she'd ever told us. I didn't answer right away. We just stared at each other in that silent kitchen, like we were both waiting for the other to blink first. She looked tired, more than usual. Like she'd been holding something in for too long and was bracing for it to explode. Finally, I asked her, "How long have you known she wasn't really taken?" I swear, something shifted in her face, just slightly. Not shock. Not confusion. Just acceptance. Like she'd been waiting for the question. She didn't deny it. She just said, "I always suspected." I felt like the floor dropped out beneath me. For 10 years, she let us believe Emily had been kidnapped. She let us believe the worst. Police interviews. Press coverage. My dad drinking himself sick every night. And she suspected? She sat down, folded her hands like she was about to deliver a eulogy. She told me things I never knew. That in the months before Emily vanished, she'd changed. She started sneaking out at night, talking to people no one in our family knew, getting secretive, distant. One night, my mom found a strange envelope in Emily's dresser, filled with cash, hundreds of dollars. No explanation. When she confronted Emily, she just shrugged and said she was getting ready to leave. But here's the part that broke me. My mom said, I think she made a deal with someone. I think she left on purpose. And when she finally came back, it wasn't because she missed us. It was because whatever deal she made ended. She looked at me, eyes watery, and added, I knew the girl who left. I don't know the one who came back. It felt like someone punched me in the chest. For a decade, my family held on to the idea that Emily was a victim, someone who'd been taken and eventually returned, broken but alive. But what if none of that was true? What if she chose to disappear? What if she became something else entirely? When I asked my mom why she never told us any of this, her answer chilled me to the bone. Because I was afraid she'd come back. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't stop replaying my mom's words, because I was afraid she'd come back. What did that even mean? That Emily was dangerous? That she wasn't who we thought she was? And if my mom truly believed that, why had she welcomed her back so easily? The next morning, I decided I couldn't wait any longer. I had to talk to Emily. Really talk to her. I drove to her apartment, which she'd moved into just a few weeks after returning. My parents helped her pay for it, even furnished it. Everyone had been so eager to give her a fresh start. I knocked. She opened the door like she'd been expecting me. No surprise. No hesitation. Just that same placid smile she wore like a mask. She invited me in. I didn't sit. I told her I went to the orchard. I told her I found the box. Her face didn't change. Not at first. She just asked, why did you go looking? It wasn't angry. It wasn't scared. It was curious. Like she couldn't understand why I'd dig up something better left buried. I told her I needed answers. That no one else seemed to care where she'd been or what she'd become, but I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. That's when she finally dropped the act. She sat down at the edge of her couch and said, you really want to know? I nodded, even though everything in my body told me not to. She told me she hadn't been kidnapped. She wasn't locked in some basement or trafficked or lost. She left. She left because she met someone, or something, she couldn't explain. A presence. A voice. A feeling that followed her for months. It first showed up in the orchard, she said. A whisper in the dark. A promise. She said she was invited. That's the word she used. Invited. Not forced. Not taken. And she accepted. Where did she go? I asked. She paused for a long time before answering. Somewhere in between. That's all she said. Then she looked at me and said something that still haunts me. I wasn't supposed to come back. But something changed. And now it's watching you. I left her apartment in a daze. She didn't try to stop me. Didn't say goodbye. Just closed the door like we'd finished a casual conversation about the weather. But her last words wouldn't leave me alone. It's watching you. That night, I had the first nightmare. I was in the orchard, only it was darker, every tree stripped of its leaves, branches black and swaying like they were underwater. I could hear something moving, but not in the leaves, in the ground. Like roots pulling loose. Something crawling up from beneath. I turned, and Emily was there. But it wasn't her. Her eyes were black, like polished stone, and her mouth didn't move when she spoke. She said only one thing. Now it's your turn. I jolted awake soaked in sweat. It should have ended there, just a dream, but the next morning I found dirt on my socks. I hadn't gone outside. I hadn't even left my room. At first, I tried to reason it away. Maybe I stepped near a plant. Maybe it was dust. But deep down, I knew better. Something was off. Something had shifted since I'd spoken to Emily. And it didn't stop there. I started hearing tapping at my window at night. Slow, methodical. Like someone running their fingernail down the glass. Always 3 taps. Never 4. Once, I opened the blinds fast enough to catch a shape moving just beyond the tree line. I told myself it was a deer. A shadow. Anything but what it felt like. And then my phone started acting up. Calls from numbers with no caller ID. Just static on the other end. One night, I picked up and heard someone whisper my name. Just once. Like a warning. I stopped sleeping. I started jumping at every creak in the house. I thought I was losing it, until the night I found something under my bed. A single piece of paper. Folded in half. My name written on the front in handwriting that looked almost like mine. Inside, it said, "You've been invited." I burned the note. That might have been a mistake, but I didn't know what else to do. I sat on the back steps watching it curl to ash, hoping that destroying it would somehow end this. It didn't. If anything, things got worse. The next night, I woke up to find my bedroom door wide open. I always close it before bed. Always. But now it stood open like someone had been watching me sleep. Worse, the window was open too. Cold air spilling in, curtains swaying like something had just slipped out. Or in. I checked the locks on every door, every window. All untouched. No signs of a break-in. But I knew someone, or something, had been there. I could feel it in the pit of my stomach. The next morning, I did something desperate. I went to see the one person in town who everyone used to whisper about but never actually talked to, Mrs. Hallie. She lived on the edge of town, deep in the woods, in a house with wind chimes made of bones. At least, that's what the rumors said. As a kid, we used to dare each other to knock on her door. But I didn't knock. I stood at the tree line, heart pounding, wondering if this was completely insane. Then she stepped out, as if she'd been waiting for me. Just stood on the porch, silent. I didn't have to explain anything. She simply said, "You're not the first. Your sister came here once, too." I walked closer. Mrs. Hallie told me there's always been something buried in the orchard, older than the town, older than the land itself. And every so often, someone hears it calling. Not everyone does. But those who do, they're marked. She said Emily accepted the invitation. And now, because I went digging, because I found the box, because I read the journal, because I listened, I'd been marked too. I asked her how to stop it. She just stared at me and said, "You can't. You can only choose." I didn't understand what that meant until she handed me a second note. Old, yellowed. The same handwriting from before. It said, "Midnight. Orchard. Come alone. Say yes, or say no. But choose." I didn't tell anyone I was going. I left my phone at home. Brought a flashlight, a jacket, and the old pocketknife my dad gave me when I turned 12, like it would do anything against this. I didn't know what I was walking into. But the note said I had to choose. And deep down, I already knew, if I ignored it, if I stayed home, it wouldn't matter. It would come to me anyway. So I went. The orchard looked even more lifeless than before. Every tree skeletal, crooked like fingers frozen mid-reach. The swing was still gone, but the branch where it once hung was moving. Not swaying. Twitching. I stood in the clearing, breathing in the damp air. Then I heard it. The tapping. Not from a window this time, from the trees. Tap, tap, tap. Like a signal. Or a countdown. I whispered out loud, "I'm here." No response. Just stillness. Then, right at midnight, the ground beneath the old swing began to crack. Not violently, quiet, controlled, like something was pushing gently from below. And then it rose. A box. Identical to the one I'd found days ago. Same wood. Same rusted hinges. Only this time, it wasn't buried. It was waiting. I opened it. Inside was another note, this one fresh. Smooth paper. The ink still smelled like it had been written moments ago. Just one sentence. "You can go back to the way it was." No name. No signature. Just the promise. And beside it, a second item, a picture. Me, standing in the orchard. Tonight. Someone, or something, had taken a photo of me. I don't own a camera. I didn't see anyone. But it saw me. I nearly dropped it. But that's when I noticed something else. Behind the photo was a folded piece of cloth. I pulled it out. It was the missing half of the photo I'd found before. The one of me and Emily. Her side, perfectly intact. And on the back, in tiny letters. She said yes. I stared at the note until my eyes burned. She said yes. And now, it was my turn. The air in the orchard changed. Heavy. Thick. Like something was pressing down on the world. I couldn't explain it. It wasn't wind, or cold, or sound. It was just pressure. Like I was being watched from all directions, and not by anything human. The box remained open. Waiting. A choice. That's what this was always about. Emily hadn't been taken. She'd been offered something. And she said yes. But to what? I thought back to the journal. The shadow. The visitor. Her saying, "If I say yes, everything changes." I looked around the orchard one last time. The trees weren't swaying anymore. They were completely still, like they were holding their breath. Then I heard it. A voice, not loud, not sharp, just soft. Like breath against the back of my ear. "Say it." My mouth went dry. And then, in the middle of that hollow, aching silence, I whispered, "No." Everything went still. Dead still. No wind. No tapping. No breath on my skin. Just silence. The box slammed shut. Not by my hand. On its own. The pressure vanished. Just like that. Gone. I backed away slowly, heart pounding. I didn't know what I'd done, or what would come next, but it felt final. I turned to leave. And that's when I saw her. Emily. Standing at the edge of the orchard, just beyond the tree line. Pale. Expressionless. Her eyes locked on mine. I didn't say anything. Neither did she. But for the first time since she came back, she looked afraid. She turned and walked away. And I haven't seen her since. That was 6 weeks ago. She left everything behind, her apartment, her clothes, her phone. No note. No warning. Just gone. And no one else seems surprised. My parents say she probably needed time. That Emily's been through a lot. They've started going to church again. Avoiding my calls. But I know better. Because some nights, I still hear the tapping. 3 knocks. Never 4. And when I dream, it's not me in the orchard anymore. It's someone else. Someone new.